On today's episode of the podcast, I am getting you up to speed on the progress I'm making on my second Frankensweater. I also have a new project that I just cast on that's something a little bit different for me that I'm improvising, and I'm really excited to share that with you. And lastly, I want to share with you some updated photos of my stripe height pullover that I shared on the last episode of the podcast because it's been properly blocked and I think you'll be impressed with the difference. So if all of that sounds like just your cup of tea, get comfortable and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. My name is Tayler, and I will be your host. Today I have a pretty plain and simple cut and dry episode for you. I've got some progress on a couple knitting projects, and I also want to share with you an update on my stripe height pullover that I shared with you on the last episode of the podcast. But before I get into any of that, I do have a couple of updates. As many of you know, I am the owner and dyer of Fiber for the People yarn, and I wanted to let you know that this Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time will be the next Fiber for the People shop update. I had originally forecasted this for the following Saturday. However, I would like to have that this coming Saturday because I have other plans for the coming weeks after that. And so the next Fiber for the People shop update is coming your way this Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will have more information as per the colorway collection that I'll be featuring and the yarn and all of that over in the Fiber for the People newsletter. So if you would like more information about each of the Fiber for the People shop updates as they come, definitely sign up for the Fiber for the People newsletter over at fiberforthepeople.com. Also, if you are a fan of the Wool Needles Hands channel and you'd like to wear it loud and proud, don't forget to check out the Wool Needles Hands merch shop. You can find that over at woolneedleshands.com/merch. Lots of fun conversation starters over there, and it's a fantastic way to show your support for the Wool Needles Hands channel. Today I am wearing my Frankensweater. This is Frankensweater number 1. You can learn all about this sweater if you watch the Frankensweater Saga series of podcast episodes. I will link to that playlist down below. We are actually also doing a knit along for the Frankensweater. If you're interested in a fun knit along with a fantastic community and you would also like to show some additional financial support for the Wool Needles Hands channel, you can go over to the Patreon, check it out, see if it's for you. But this is my Frankensweater. It's a perfect day for it today. It's chilly outside. It's a cozy, mellow, hang out at home day. And it's just really, it's a great day for a Frankensweater. So that is what I'm wearing today. And now I am ready to get into the episode proper. Okay, the first thing I wanted to share with you guys was an update on my stripe hype pullover. I was going to share this with you last, but I want to go ahead and dive into it really quick because I shared this on the last episode of the podcast and I received so many lovely comments below that video of folks loving the sweater and they're really happy that I stuck it out because you may remember I was thinking about frogging the whole thing or just quitting altogether. But folks really loved the Frankensweater. And when I wore it on the last episode of the podcast, the most I had done in terms of blocking was a relatively light steam block. So very little had been done to really shape the sweater and block it and do what you really should be doing after you finished a knitted garment, and that is wet blocking. So the last time I showed this on my person, it was just steam blocked. And even so, I really loved it. But, and you can probably tell this in that episode, I did have some reservations. I just wasn't sure about some things. I used the phrase dumpling sweater a couple of times to refer to the sweater. It wasn't right on the mark. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be right on the mark. But again, and I have said this over and over on this channel, blocking makes all the difference. And when I say blocking, I mean proper wet blocking. And that is ultimately the best form of blocking. If you would like to see me block a sweater, I will link to a video down in the description box where I share with you my process for doing exactly that. But it was so important that I did that with this particular sweater. So here it is. I'm not going to put it back on because I'm going to show you some pretty good photos. But this is my stripe hype sweater and it is all blocked. You can tell that it's blocked. It's laying nice and smooth. Everything just looks nice and neat and tidy. And you guys, I'm crazy about it because with this sweater, blocking made all the difference. It completely reshaped the whole sweater and turned it into what it needed to be from the beginning. And I am so happy that I did that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the photos of me wearing the sweater, but I want to mention to you, I have worn this sweater like on pretty much nonstop since I finished it, blocked it, and all of that. I just absolutely love this. So this is my stripe hype, and here are updated photos of me wearing my stripe hype pullover. And actually, maybe before I pop those up, I'm going to cut in a little clip from the previous episode of the podcast so you can see how it fits on my body and how it was kind of hanging and draping and all of that before I share with you these new photos of the sweater post wet blocking. So here's a clip from last time's episode of the podcast. Here she is. Let's do a little turn around here. So I don't know. I really love it. I feel like it kind of has this like dumpling look about it. So there was some rigidity there. The waistband, or, you know, the bottom hem of the sweater was kind of cinching in a little bit, giving it that dumpling sweater effect. Well, without further ado, here are updated photos after it has been completely wet blocked. I'm certainly not overemphasizing this when I tell you a good wet blocking makes all the difference. If you have finished knitting a sweater and either you haven't blocked it at all, or the most that you've done is steam block it, and you're underwhelmed or just not completely satisfied with the sweater, give it a full wet block before you make any decisions, before you put it away in your closet and just never wear it again. Because I'm telling you right now, after blocking this, it's gone from being a sweater that I know I'm going to wear to being a sweater that I'm going to wear all the time because I absolutely love it. It's cozy, it looks nice, it has a nice silhouette. It's just a classic oversized boyfriend style sweater, and I'm in love with it. So wet blocking is key. Blocking makes all the difference. Okay, the next thing I wanted to share with you guys today was the beginnings of a new project. So I have here, this is a skein of Fiber for the People yarn. This is part of the Born, Shorn, and Dyed collection that I offer in my shop. This is all Nevada born and raised 100% merino Rambouillet cross that I have started offering in the shop since 3 months ago. It's a gorgeous sport weight 2-ply yarn, and I'm absolutely in love with it. I'm going to link to another video to give you a little bit of insight into kind of like where this started and how I came about offering this yarn, because it's a gorgeous yarn. It's local to Nevada. It has sparked a new friendship between me and the family that own the sheep. It's just a really awesome story. So I will link to that video in the description box as well. This is actually a Lucky Strike colorway. So this was not a planned colorway. This was just an opportunity for me to use up some extra dye in one of the pans, and it came out with this really lovely, I don't know, it's kind of like a seafoam teal color. On my screen right now, it's coming out much more aqua than it is in real life. It's much more warm in real life, but it's lovely. So I took a skein of this and I wanted to try my hand at knitting a hat from the top down. And this actually came about because I'm crazy about the Italian bind off. I love the nice rounded edge that it gives. I actually did it on my stripe hype. You can kind of see right here. Isn't that so pretty? I love it so much. I actually really love doing it. I love the rhythm and the process of it. And I figured what a great way to get a nice, lovely, rounded edge to a hat cuff than with an Italian bind off. But the only way that you can do it is if you're binding off, which means that you would have to knit the hat from the top down. And now I know there's such things as a tubular cast on and all of that. I really don't love doing a tubular cast on, but I really love doing an Italian bind off, and knitting a hat from the top down is actually completely doable. So I am doing just that. I am knitting a hat from the top down, and what I have right now is just the crown of the hat. I'm doing a really nice kind of windmill spiraling increase situation happening here, where we start and then the increases kind of spiral their way around here. increasing out to what would essentially be the appropriate number of stitches to go around my head. I have been monitoring my gauge as I go. So the way that I did this, when I say I'm improvising, I'm kind of just planning this as I go. I figure this is a sport weight yarn. It's rather plump for a sport weight yarn. So I decided to go with a size 5 needle because I felt like that would be a nice needle to create some really nice fabric with the sport weight yarn without the fabric being too dense. And so I went with a size 5 needle and I cast it on 8 stitches and just started evenly increasing, figuring I'm going to check my gauge as I get some fabric on my needles, and then I will stop increasing when I get to the stitch count necessary to go around my head with the proper amount of ease. This is going to be kind of a not too tight fitting of a hat, but not too loose. I want it to fit nicely around my head. It's going to be a doubled over brim, basic top-down hat. It's not going to have any kind of stitch pattern. It's going to go for about 5 to 7 inches, and then I'm going to knit a 4-inch cuff that will be folded over, and it'll be super cute and just a really nice basic top-down beanie, if you will, just, you know, a little hat. And maybe there will be a pom-pom and maybe there will not be. But that's what I have so far, is just the crown from a hat. And I'm loving it. And what I love about this is that you can kind of do this with any weight of yarn as long as you have the needle that's going to give you the fabric you're after, because you don't have to worry about casting on the right number of stitches to go around your head. You can cast on the 8 stitches and start working out increases evenly to give you your kind of increase sections, and then increase up or monitor your gauge and then figure out based on that gauge that you're getting, how many stitches are you going to need to have to give you the right ease for the size of head that you have and all of this, whatever. You can kind of just get started and size it as you go, which I think is a lot of fun. So if you had a worsted weight yarn or a bulky weight yarn, just get the appropriate needle size. You might need to do a gauge swatch just to figure out what needle size gives you the proper fabric or whatever fabric it is that you're after. And then you're off to the races. So I'm loving this. So this is my top-down hat. Next time we see each other, this will be finished because I want to get this finished pretty quickly because I would like to do another one in another color. But that is my top-down hat, and I'm taking notes in my Rollbahn notebook. I actually talked all about this in the last episode of the podcast, but I had to cut it out for time. So that content is actually over on the Patreon, but I am using this Rollbahn notebook. It's just a grid paper notebook to keep track of my notes for this project. And I have another one that I'm using to keep track of my Frankensweater notes. So I love nice stationery. Okay, so that is my top down in the round hat. Okay, in my Stoney Lakes Textiles gorgeous project bag, that's where this is from, Stoney Lake Textiles. You guys, I love this bag. I take this bag with me when we go to hockey practice and I get compliments on it. It's not focusing. Here we are. Hi. Folks really, really love this bag, and I do too. It's just such a gorgeous color. Inside of this is Frankensweater number 2. Now, for those of you that are participating in the knit along over on the Patreon, you will notice, it will be quite apparent, that I have made a lot of progress on this. More progress than you have made, and I have a reason for that, so don't panic. I have gotten a complete yoke. So here is, let's see, got to get it all lined up. So I have finished the yoke for my Frankensweater. And the reason why I have done this, and this is actually not, this is not in the pattern that folks in the knit along have received yet. This is actually part 2, which is going to be given out to folks this coming week. So if you are participating in that knit along, it is coming. This is what we have coming your way. But I wanted to get a jump on things because I want to make sure that the road is clear. I kind of mentioned that before. So I decided I was going to go ahead and work my sweater about a week ahead of time from the folks that are in the KAL, just so that I can be sure everything's lining up. And if there's anything, any advice I think folks should have in anticipation of questions folks may have, I want to be on top of that. And this is kind of my way of preparing for that. So I have, I'm proud to say, a completed yoke. I have this on 2 long circular needles. So here, I'll let you see. So I'm actually knitting it on 2 long circular needles as opposed to just knitting it on 1, because that way it allows me to try it on. It just makes it easier. It opens it up more and it just makes it possible for me to try it on. And I like that. So that's what's going on. It's on 2 circular needles. And you know, it does kind of have a similar vibe to the one I'm wearing right now. I mean, it is its sister, I guess you could say. I'm tempted to try it on and show you so you can kind of see how the neck is sitting. Now this is blocked. This one obviously is not. So it's going to sit a little bit differently. But let me go ahead. I'm going to take this one off and try this one on. Okay, I may have messed up my hair a little bit, but we will survive. Okay, so here we are. You can make one of those really cute like capelets, just like this, like a little cape. So this is where I'm at so far. And the next thing that I'm doing at this point is not casting off, but putting my sleeve stitches on hold and then casting on underarm stitches. Let's see if I can pull this one. Yeah. Casting on those underarm stitches to bring it in down here. I'm kind of stretching it around my arm. You wouldn't really do this. I would have a significant number of stitches down here for my arm. How cute is this? Oh, I'm loving this. So there we have the yoke of Frankensweater number 2. I really love the wide set raglans. I'm watching it on my screen here. The way that these come down over and in front of the shoulders, I think that's really classy looking. And then I love the neckline. Such a nice doubled over neckline. It kind of sits away from the neck a little bit, and as I block it, or when I block it, it's going to open it up even more, giving it a little bit more of kind of a funnel neck, those Audrey Hepburn vibes, if you will. But ooh, and I love the color. I'm crazy about this color. The yarn I am using for this, let's see. The main yarn is Patton's Classic Wool Worsted. So it's just your basic kind of wool yarn. Patton's Classic Wool Worsted in the Natural Mix colorway. And the other yarn that I'm using is Fiber for the People Kid Mohair Silk in the Fleece colorway. And those two together make such a beautiful yarn. So this is where I am with my Frankensweater. There's lots of gorgeous Frankensweaters being knit right now. If you want to get involved, it's a really fun thing to do with a really lovely community of people. You can hear all about the details that go into making a Frankensweater. I'm absolutely loving the process, and I'm excited to have a second Frankensweater that's a little bit lighter weight than the original. So that is my Frankensweater. I have a completed yoke and I am so happy about it. It is lovely. Well, there you have it, folks. Short and sweet and simple. The things that I have been working on since the last time we spoke. I am ready to go pack up the kids. We are going to the hockey arena tonight for my youngest son's first hockey game as part of the Little Knights program. So we live in Las Vegas, and the hockey team for Vegas is the Vegas Golden Knights. And the hockey program that both of my boys are in is affiliated with the Knights organization. And the team that my youngest son is on is called the Little Knights. And so we get to go watch him play tonight, and it's his first game, and I'm so excited. It's really adorable. He's doing great. It's fun watching him get involved in a sport like hockey. It's such a cool vibe and community, and the camaraderie around that sport, especially with little ones, is really cool. So we are doing that this evening. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend it with me here. It is always so nice to be able to chat with you about the progress I'm making on my projects. If you took value from today's episode or enjoyed yourself at any point, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified anytime I upload new content, which is every Wednesday and every Sunday. Until we meet again for Wednesday's episode of the Midweek Ramble, happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Take care, be well, and I will see you soon. Bye.